Snapchat was our favorite platform for staying connected and capturing those moments I never wanted to forget. Little did I know that the harmless app would lead me into a web of deceit and deception. On a sunny afternoon, as I scrolled through my Snap stories, I came across a friend's post. A cryptic image that seemed to hint at a secret adventure. The image contained a shadowy figure standing in front of a weathered door. The caption read, "The key to a new world." Intrigued, I messaged my friend, Sarah, to ask what it was all about. Sarah replied almost immediately, her enthusiasm almost tangible through the screen. She revealed that she and a group of friends had embarked on a mysterious journey following a series of clues that led to unknown destinations and a prize if you could solve it. She invited me to join in for an unforgettable experience. My curiosity spiked, and I agreed to meet her and the group at the starting point the next day. The following morning, I arrived at the coffee shop in the heart of the city where we usually gathered. Sarah was there, her eyes sparkling with excitement and more than her fair share of caffeine. She introduced me to her friends, Mark, Maya, and Alex. Apparently, we'd all gone to school together, but I couldn't recognize any of their faces. As they filled me in on their adventure, I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The clues were enigmatic, the destinations vague, and no one knew exactly what the prize would be. "Are you guys sure about this?" I asked, trying to calm my nerves with a sip of hot coffee. "Come on, it's an adventure," Sarah reassured. Our first clue was a snap of a winding road with the caption, "The journey begins." We piled into 2 cars and set out, following the unfamiliar path as if drawn by an invisible force. We had no idea where it would lead us, but the thrill of the unknown propelled us forward. Hours passed as we ventured deeper into the countryside, our surroundings growing more remote and desolate. The long stretches of farmland began to turn into patches of wild thickets. We received the next clue, a snap of a decrepit bridge with the words, "Cross the threshold." The structure looked unkempt, its wooden planks weathered, and probably more rot than wood. We crossed the bridge with trepidation as our footsteps echoed into the eerie silence. Our next destination was a deserted mansion, an imposing relic from a bygone era. The snap clue was a haunting image of the mansion's facade, its windows shattered, and the moon casting eerie shadows on the cracked walls. The caption read, "Unravel the past." Sarah and her friends seemed exhilarated, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we were waking to a nightmare rather than an adventure. Inside the mansion of forgotten memories, furniture decayed and paintings had long turned black and moldy. It felt like a place that time had left behind, a world frozen in the past that should have returned to the earth ages before us. We scoured the room, searching for clues that would unlock the next stage of our journey. The next snap clue was a cryptic message. "The answer lies where past meets present." It seemed to hint at a connection between the mansion's history and our quest. We delved deeper into the mansion's archives, unearthing old diaries and faded photographs. As the day turned into night, our excitement waned, and an eerie stillness settled into the mansion. We pieced together the story of the mansion's former owner, a recluse obsessed with treasure and old worldly heirlooms. His writings hinted at a hidden chamber within the mansion that was said to hold the key to a new world. The revelation sent shivers down my spine. The idea of unlocking such a chamber filled me with a sense of foreboding, but it also gave our quest a gilded reward at the end. With newfound determination, we embarked on a search of the mansion's secret chamber. Hours passed as we combed through the mansion, searching for hidden passages and concealed entrances. The clock ticked ominously, and the mansion seemed to shift around us, as if guiding us toward our destiny. Finally, we discovered a concealed door in the mansion's basement. It was unremarkable, hidden behind a stack of forgotten crates. With trembling hands, we opened it to reveal a narrow way leading deep underground by ladder. The snap clue was a picture of the ladder, with the caption, "Descend into the unknown." "I don't know, this doesn't feel right anymore," I exclaimed as the others began to climb onto the ladder. Come on, Sarah said as she started to vanish into the underground. Where else would people hide such valuable treasure? Yeah, but why would someone be leading us there? I asked, but she was already on her way down and out of earshot. I didn't like the feeling of being alone and followed after them. We descended into the darkness, the air growing colder and more oppressive with each step. The narrow passage led us to a cold yet humid chamber. We used our phone lights to search for the treasure, or at least the next passage, but the light only revealed moist cobbled walls. Except for the curious object that beckoned at the center of the room, a vintage analog-style camera. A small message on the camera read, "Capture the moment." Without hesitation, Sarah picked up the camera and aimed it at the group. As the camera's flash went off, a crackling sound sent my stomach fluttering. The ladder lifted suddenly, banging against the sides as it rushed out of sight. We all glanced up the passage, but our phone lights weren't strong enough to reveal anything. "Hello?" Sarah asked. "Okay, this isn't funny." No response only made the pit in my stomach grow wider. "Hey, let us up," Alex called. We all began shouting, but no responses came, nor any more snaps. We started searching the chamber to see if there were any holes in the walls or places that could break out. It was useless, and we all began to panic. Mark even attempted to climb up the wall through the passage, but it was too difficult. There was no longer any cell service or internet that we could reach. Hours began to pass, and the fear of becoming unwitting prisoners to someone unknown ate away at me. How could I have been so careless? Wasn't sure if it was relief or more fear that set in when the ladder quietly touched back down. We all stared at one another, hesitant to ascend to whomever awaited above. "Hurry," a voice echoed down in a near whisper. With a sense of urgency, we made our way up the ladder. We stepped into the view of a familiar face, my friend Thomas. I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease, thinking the whole thing was just a hideous prank. He gestured to remain quiet, and we followed him out of the mansion. "What's going on?" asked him. "You weren't the only ones who received the snaps," he explained as we quietly made it back to our vehicles on the other side of the bridge. "I saw all of you and followed behind you." I waited behind and saw a strange man. When I watched him pull the ladder away from all of you, I knew it was something sinister, so I waited for him to leave so I could put the ladder down. We reported our incident to the police, who went back to the mansion but didn't find anything but signs of us shuffling around the dust. Never have I felt more violated than I did at that hotel. It was my last night on a grueling 4-day road trip from Houston to Portland. For 33 hours, it was just me and the open road. Since I had to make the trek alone, I couldn't push through and drive through the night. I had to stop, so my friend recommended an app designed for trips like mine. It helped me find the cheapest rate for a one-night stay. The first 2 nights were great. It was the last one that I'll never shake. I don't blame the app for what happened at all. The hotel I chose must have been a rotten egg. In the beginning, it went just as the first 2 nights did. I arrived at a standard hotel. It was nothing fancy, but it was clean. Checked in like usual. The front desk person gave me my room key, told me when their continental breakfast was served, and directed me to the elevators. It seemed completely ordinary. The room was typical too. I walked into an average hotel room and felt confident that roaches wouldn't be crawling all over me as I slept. That's all I really needed. I threw my bag on the ground and sat on the bed to assess it. It was firm just how I liked it. The sheets were white, soft, and smelled of laundry detergent. Sometimes, I get paranoid that they don't change the sheets between travelers, so the laundry detergent smell relaxed me. All I cared to do was eat, shower, and pass out. Before stopping at the hotel, I filled my tank and grabbed some pizza from the gas station for dinner. sat at the desk in the back corner, and chowed my greasy pizza down. It had a thick crust and extra cheese. With each bite, the melted cheese would hang like a hammock between my mouth and the slice. You know that feeling that someone is watching you. Like you feel it in the back of your neck and the hair on your back begins to stand up, you know. I felt that as I munched on my pizza. I looked out my window and there wasn't another building for miles. It was impossible to be the victim of a peeping Tom at this hotel. Still, I shut my blinds and pulled the curtains before showering. The bathroom was clean, white, and felt sterile. That is exactly how I like my bathroom hotels to be. Stepped into the shower, and for the first time in days, I washed my hair using their complimentary shampoo and conditioner. After sitting in my car, cramped with all my stuff, and going in and out of gas stations all day, the shower felt like a baptism. I washed away the grime of life on the road and was ready to sleep, but that uneasy feeling in the back of my neck came back. I looked around the shower and it looked like any shower. A standard shower head and a small tub. I peeked out to look at the bathroom. A large mirror, bright white lights, and a toilet. I told myself I was tired from the road and resumed my shower, hoping to wash away my paranoia. After my shower, I put a towel around my waist. I forgot to grab my pajamas from the bag, so I ran out to get them. When I stepped out of the bathroom, the hotel phone rang through the silence. It caught me off guard, so I gasped like a little girl. I walked over to the nightstand and picked up the phone. "Hello?" I said. At first, there was silence, so again I asked, "Hello? Tony?" A man's voice came through the line. It had a slight nasal tone to it. "How do you know my name?" "Now I know your name," he said calmly. "Who is this?" No answer. I continued. "Can I help you with something? Is there something wrong with the room?" "The room is perfect," the voice said. "Just wanted to encourage you to get comfortable," and drop the towel. "What the hell?" I exclaimed, and I hung up the phone. I looked around the hotel room. There was no way someone looked in through the window, so whoever was watching me did it. Another way. Cameras, I thought. The room must be rigged with cameras. I looked around, wondering where all the cameras could be. Was one in the showerhead? My skin crawled at the thought. Without thinking about it further, I changed into my pajamas, packed my things, and went to the front desk to get a new room. I told the woman what happened, and she agreed that it was weird and concerning. She said she would look into it, and gave me a key to a new room. Right when I got into the new room, I closed the blinds and curtains. The idea of someone watching me as I ate and showered made me feel ill. I assessed the room. I looked at the phone and the lights for small cameras. I wanted to wash away how I felt, so I took another quick shower. But first, I inspected the bathroom. I looked at each individual light and took a close look at the showerhead. Even checked the toilet just to be safe. You never know what creeps are into. After I felt like I wasn't being watched, I showered to try to feel better. I dried off and got dressed in the bathroom. I brushed my teeth, ready to crawl into bed and be done with whatever situation I was just in. I kept wondering how the man on the phone knew my name. As I stepped out of the bathroom, the phone rang. I stumped over to the nightstand and picked it up. "Hello," I said with aggression. The same nasally voice came through the phone. "What's with the hostility, Tony? That's a surprising pajama choice. You struck me as a matching set kind of guy. Who is this? What do you want?" I looked around the room, trying to figure out where the camera was. What if there was more than one? "I just want to look." "Is that so wrong?" "Yes," I responded and hung up the phone. I packed my things again and went down to the front desk. The same lady was there. I told her the same thing happened in the new room and asked if all the rooms were rigged with cameras. She tried to assure me there shouldn't be any cameras in any of the rooms. Then I happened to end up in the only 2 rooms rigged up. Explain that. What is going on here? She was flustered and told me she never had a guest complain about this before. Insisted she give me my money back, but she said since I booked through the app, I would have to request the refund from them. I left the hotel, got in my car and drove for an hour until I found a Walmart parking lot I could camp out in. I wasn't going to stick around and find out anything more about that man on the phone. I knew I needed to get the hell out of there. I slept in my car that night and was dead tired when I arrived at my new place in Portland the next day. Thankfully, I never heard that creepy man's voice again. I had just finished finals and was planning to spend the night at home with my boyfriend Jimmy. We were both exhausted from the semester and just wanted to hang out and watch Netflix. But right after dinner, Jimmy got a call from his brother Derek. I could only hear half of the conversation, but it sounded like something really bad had happened. Jimmy looked horrified. When he got off the phone, he told me that his mother was in the hospital. She'd fallen down the stairs in her house and was pretty messed up. He said that she was in surgery now, and he'd have to go straight to the hospital. I felt so sorry for him. I gave him a big hug and then he ran off. Now alone in the house, I didn't know what to do. Tried to watch some TV, but I couldn't concentrate. I kept thinking about Jimmy's poor mother. Ended up just sitting there, not doing anything at all. About an hour later, there was a knock on the door. I ran to answer it, hoping that Jimmy had come back to tell me that his mom was fine. But when I opened the door, I saw his brother Derek standing outside. He had a bouquet of flowers in his hand. I assumed that the flowers were for his mom, but then he handed them to me and asked if I was okay. I told him I was fine and asked about his mother's condition. He shrugged and in a very casual voice he said, "Yeah, she's probably not going to make it." Didn't know Derek that well. I'd only ever seen him at family gatherings, and even then, he usually just hung out with Jimmy and their cousins. Every once in a while, I'd catch him staring at me, but I never really thought anything of it at the time. He walked inside, shoving the bouquet at me until I took it. He was acting very strange. I assumed that he was in shock. He got pretty close to my face and whispered, "You look hot tonight." Then he walked past me and sat on the sofa. He patted the cushion waiting for me to join him. I really didn't know how to respond. I set the flowers on the table and sat next to him. Asked him why he wasn't in the hospital. He just shrugged. Waited for a long time for him to say something. And then he smiled and said, "I wanted to get you alone." "What?" I asked. That was when he told me the most horrible thing I'd ever heard. He said that he'd always loved me, that his brother didn't deserve me, that he had to find a way to be alone with me so he could tell me how he felt. He slid his hand on my shoulder, but I pulled away. "Aren't you upset about your mother?" And he laughed. He seriously laughed about his own mother falling down the stairs. Looked into his wide, crazy eyes, and I had to ask, "Did you push your mom down the stairs just so you could get Jimmy out of the house?" I wanted him to scoff at the suggestion, to tell me that the idea was ridiculous. But to my horror, his mouth widened into a big, proud grin. "Desperate times call for desperate measures," he said. "Love you." I knew that there was no way I could reason with this psycho. I had to get away from him fast. I jumped off the sofa and ran to the front door. But before I could reach it, he raced toward me and blocked my way. I was forced to spin around and run upstairs. I was frantic, but I figured I could lock myself in one of the bedrooms and then call the police. He was too fast, though. He caught up to me at the top of the stairs and grabbed me by the neck. Tried to push him off, but he squeezed into my neck and I couldn't breathe. "I'm going to ask you one more time," he said. "Do you love me?" I choked, gasping for air. "Answer carefully." "Don't want you to suffer the same fate as my mother." He held me close to the edge. If I didn't say exactly what he wanted, he'd shove me off the step. Suddenly, he loosened his grip on my throat so I could answer. Without thinking, I said, "Yes, I love you, and you'll break up with Jimmy so that we can be together." I nodded. "And you won't tell anyone about what I did tonight, right?" "No, of course not." That was what he wanted to hear. He let go of my neck completely. His lips were dry and cracked. I felt physically sick. Thankfully, the kiss didn't last too long, but it gave me the strength I needed to finally fight back. I grabbed him by the shoulders, pretending to go in for a second kiss, but then I twisted to the side and shoved him down the stairs. I'll always remember the terrible crunching sound when his head struck the floor. I stared at him for the longest time, but he didn't move. He was dead. Soon after that, my brother called from the hospital. Miraculously, his mother was going to be okay. She had a few broken bones and a concussion, but there had been no serious damage. Somehow, that 65-year-old woman had survived what her own son couldn't. Then Jimmy asked me the question that I was dreading. He wanted to know if I'd heard from Derek. I knew that he genuinely loved his brother and had no idea how crazy Derek really was. If I told him the truth that I'd killed him, I worried that Jimmy would never forgive me. So I lied. I told him that Derek had come to the house and was so overwhelmed by what happened to his mother that he flung himself down the stairs. Jimmy didn't say anything for a while. Then, slowly, he said, "I knew that something was wrong when I talked to him. Is he okay?" "I don't know." Lied again. Just called the ambulance. After the paramedics left, I went to the hospital to see Jimmy and his mom. We didn't say much. I knew his mom was lying when she said that she fell by accident, and she knew I was lying about what really happened to Derek. We were both protecting Jimmy from the truth about his brother. To this day, no one else knows what really happened. A dark night in front of the computer, a frigid glass of soda, and a bowl of cheese puffs. What more could a man ask for? I thought of these things, enjoying the peace of that moment. The only illumination in the room provided by the screen in front of me. Knowing the ins and outs of a PC doesn't qualify a person for what I choose to do that night, but it surely helps. See, rolling past yet another picture of people having fun, I found myself nauseated, rejecting the kind of enjoyment that these people found pleasant. "I don't need something like that," I whispered, taking yet another handful of cheese puffs. "Close the shutters," I asked my voice-activated assistant, as I felt like needing some privacy. "Shutters closed," she hummed back, as the little servos pulled the ropes until the blinds didn't allow indiscreet eyes to see inside. After cleaning the chip dust off my hand on a paper napkin, I found my cursor on the screen, double-clicking on the app I hadn't used yet. I had found this browser to navigate the dark web, but being busy or otherwise uninterested, I simply installed it and never tried it. Why not? The starting page opened up to a blank screen, a few instructions detailing how to get around to various URLs. Anything and everything one could want, illegally speaking, could be found. Of course, with reasonable limitations. Illegal gun stores won't be selling you warheads, for example, but those weren't what I was there for anyway. I was but a tourist, internet explorer, so to speak. Finding boredom in the various illegal marketplaces, I decided to browse the artistic sections instead. I found a few web pages linking to various art expositions, detailed the prices of various paintings or even 3D digital art sold for 3D printers or other uses. Quite shady stuff, considering some of these included pistols, that could fire real bullets. Looking mesmerized at that page by the dark backdrop, I almost failed to notice the blue dot of light coming from my webcam. Has the LED light always been on? Just as I thought that, looking down from the monitor, it turned off. What the? I whispered, thinking I might be seeing things. Another link, bringing me to a far different page, immersed my retinas in the mesmerizing colors of oil spillages and fractals. In this chaotic visual noise, pictures were floating in space as I scrolled down using the wheel, like a photo of the page creator, his small company, etc. Quite interesting, I thought. Then music started playing. A dissonant church organ putting together a demented melody that froze me stiff for how loud it was. How do I turn this off? I muttered to myself, finding a way to the audio controls of my OS. Into it, the audio didn't seem to be coming from the web browser at all. Where from then? Bopping up and down, the volume control made me notice that the audio was, in fact, playing from the PC music player instead. How was that possible? Minimizing the window of the browser, the audio player was indeed open. That awful melody was now active, the title of it being Too Late Now. Closing it on an instinct, the window reopened another instance of itself. By the side, almost as if it had dodged the click. Too Late Now, still present as a name. I couldn't get rid of it. Even trying to terminate the process forcibly wouldn't have an effect. It just kept reappearing. Distracted, looking at the video player, I hadn't noticed that the browser had undergone a change. Opening it back up, wondering if it was causing the weird glitch, the page was now set on another URL. A black screen, a single sentence on the screen. I control your computer now. My jaw dropped, seeing that sentence appear. It must have been a joke, right? The entirety of my computer froze up as something was being injected into it. A string of code by the nefarious purpose, and after a minute, it unfroze. A red flashing light by the bottom of the screen was insistently lit up. Clicking it, a view of a camera feed appeared. What's this? I muttered, tempted to pull out the power, but before I could, the sentence on the browser changed. If you pull the power now, they will all die. Who was he talking about? My face became pale when looking at the feed, showing what clearly was my family, tied and being dragged in front of the camera by two burly men in balaclava. I have them. Next to that window, showing me the crying faces of my parents, terrified at what might happen to them. Another window appeared with my face on it, and a red dot on top. The sick bastard was recording all of my reaction as well. "They're safe with me," said the text on the screen, the little smile at the end mocking me in an irritating way. Just as that sentence stopped, a flashing vertical line appeared under the text, inviting me to write. "What do you want?" I typed, gulping my spit. He couldn't have possibly been doing this for no reason, unless, deposit the entirety of your Bitcoin wallet to this account. My jaw dropped. It was asking for over $50,000 to an address that was likely going to make the money disappear as fast as I could deposit it. The text once again wrote something else. "I'm going to start counting, and they will start losing fingers." My heart felt like it was sinking into my chest, lost to an insurmountable despair as a minute counter started one. The burly man opened a black bag he was dragging, taking a big pair of pincers from it. With the help of the other man, they immobilized my mom. Placing the pincers around her ring finger, the countdown was now at 45 seconds. Horrified by what I was seeing, I tied up a storm, pleading for him to stop, saying I was going to pay out of options, and grinning so hard my teeth hurt, I complied. As the money was received, the two men let go of my mother, going up to the camera. The video feed stopped right at that moment. I could see a lot more transactions happen quickly afterwards in my electronic wallet, probably the money being passed over dummy accounts. Over and over the chat screen came up once again, a message saying thank you for your patronage, goodbye, and then the window closed on its own. Soon afterwards, I uninstalled the browser and reset my PC to a previous installation state, fueled by a deep panic. God knows what would have happened had I not obeyed. The question is, how could they have gotten to my family in that little of time, unless I was being tracked for far longer than I thought?